This is the story of a man named Karmadin and his 3 daughters. His wife had passed away a few years ago, and since then, Karmadin had been doing his best to take care of his daughters. His daughters were all very beautiful, but the youngest, Zainab, was the most intelligent of them all. Zainab had a unique sense of responsibility that made her stand out, and her father, Karmadin, loved her dearly. Karmadin was a loving father who never let his daughters feel the absence of their mother. He made sure to fulfill every wish they had. As time went by, his daughters grew older and began preparing meals for their father. Whenever Karmadin would go out for work, his daughters would make sure to prepare food and send it with him. In the same village, there lived a widow with a daughter. The widow had a habit of going around asking for things from other people's homes. Whenever Karmadin's daughters were preparing meals, this woman would often visit them to ask for fire. However, Zainab didn't trust the widow. Every time she came over, Zainab would complain to her sisters about the woman's behavior. She didn't like the idea of helping her, believing that she had bad intentions. Despite Zainab's complaints, her 2 older sisters would calm her down, telling her that the widow was poor and needed help. They argued that giving her fire wouldn't harm them. However, Zainab remained suspicious, believing that the widow would eventually cause trouble for them. As time went on, the widow kept coming to their house to ask for fire. Zainab grew more and more wary, and one day, Karmadin noticed a change in the taste of his food. He began to wonder if his daughters were accidentally making mistakes while preparing his meals. He loved his daughters deeply and couldn't fathom why they would spoil his food. One day, Karmadin decided to secretly observe them while they cooked. He watched as his older daughters were washing rice and preparing a curry, while Zainab was cleaning the dishes. He noticed that there were no problems with the food. Everything seemed normal until, to his shock, he saw the widow visiting them to ask for fire, just as Zainab was arguing with her. Zainab was telling the widow that she shouldn't be coming to their house. Her 2 older sisters tried to calm her down, telling her it was just fire. However, while the sisters were distracted, the widow secretly added ash to the food, ruining the entire meal. When Karmadin saw this, his anger boiled over. The next day, he invited the widow to his home and confronted her, asking how she dared to ruin his food. The widow, pretending to be innocent, apologized dramatically and said that she had been testing Karmadin's love for his daughters. She claimed she had wanted to see if he would scold them for the ruined food, but she realized that Karmadin loved his daughters dearly. Karmadin, captivated by her charm and beauty, believed her lies. He was so moved by her words that he married the widow without consulting his daughters. He brought her into his home, believing that he was doing the right thing. However, after the marriage, the widow began to show her true colors. She started mistreating Karmadin's daughters, making them do all the household chores, denying them food, and treating them cruelly. As the days passed, the daughters grew more and more unhappy, and one day Zainab decided to take matters into her own hands. She told her sisters that they should leave the house for a while to clear their minds. Together they left the house and walked to a nearby forest where they sat under a tree, crying and remembering their late mother. As they cried, an elderly man, a pious soul, passed by and overheard their sorrow. He stopped and spoke to Zainab, asking her why she was so upset. Zainab shared the whole story of how their stepmother was treating them. The man listened attentively and then told them that he had a small hut nearby, and in front of it, there was a pomegranate tree with ripe pomegranates. He offered them the fruit, saying they could pick as many as they wanted. The girls were overjoyed and went to the hut, where they ate the pomegranates and felt their spirits lifted. They returned home, where their stepmother continued to deny them food. But the girls now had their secret, the pomegranates from the tree in the forest, which they ate every day to fill their stomachs. Meanwhile, their stepmother noticed that despite starving the girls, they always looked healthy and radiant. Her own daughter, who was well-fed, started to look worse compared to the 3 sisters. Suspicious, she sent her daughter to follow them one day. When the stepmother's daughter saw them eating the pomegranates, she ran back to her mother and told her what she had witnessed. In a fit of rage, the stepmother ordered her men to destroy the pomegranate tree and the hut. When the girls returned to the forest and saw that the tree was gone, they were devastated and unsure of what to do next. The elderly man, sensing their despair, appeared again and pointed to a spot on the ground. Miraculously, milk began to flow from the earth, and the girls were able to drink their fill. But the stepmother, realizing that the girls were still thriving despite all her attempts to starve them, became even more angry. She decided to find a way to stop them from drinking the milk. One day, she tricked Karmadin into doing her bidding. She convinced him to destroy the milk-producing river by promising him a cure for her headache, but it was all part of her plan to keep the girls from accessing the milk. Meanwhile, the girls had become increasingly close to the elderly man and continued to visit him regularly. Karmadin's wife, knowing that she couldn't control the girls any longer, became desperate. She decided to take matters into her own hands and forced Karmadin to do something he could never have imagined.